Hello and welcome to this audio presentation of the Achievers Events Internal Recruiter Workshop. My name is John Jones and I'm a recruitment expert and an NLP master. I've been working with Achievers Events for several years now, and during that time I've had the good fortune of working alongside leaders in their fields from the business sector, like me, from the sporting arena, and from other centres of excellence like the military special forces, for example. And working alongside this exceptional blend of individuals has given me a unique insight into what it takes to be successful and the principles and techniques required, and also how to differentiate between what works and what doesn't. I've been connected to the recruitment industry all my life. My parents were both owners of recruitment consultancies, and my mother was a committee member of the Institute of Employment Consultants, which went on to become the REC. I started out in the recruitment industry at the age of 21, and by the age of 23 I had my own business which went on to turn over £11 million annually and employed over 45 people. During my career, I've been a finalist in a Recruitment Consultant of the Year competition. I've had articles in industry publications like Recruiter Magazine and Recruitment News, and I've run and owned companies that operate at levels varying from supplying high-volume temporary staff to executive appointments on retained assignments. As a top producing recruiter, I've personally generated millions of pounds in revenue. I've dealt with literally thousands of HR and internal recruiters and tens and if not hundreds of thousands of candidates. I'm not telling you this to impress you, just to impress upon you that I'm not someone who just talks the talk. I've walked the walk and earned my stripes the hard way through experience. I've studied pretty much every single recruitment training product that's been released in the last 30 years that's worth its salt. And my conclusion from that is, whilst all have their individual merits, and some are definitely better than others, a common theme amongst them is that 80% of the value is contained in 20% of the content. And I've endeavoured to cram as much as possible into this audio presentation, so hopefully you agree this is an extremely valuable resource. In this CD, we will cover taking complete job specifications, what to consider when placing an ad, some techniques for recruitment supplier management, and how to effectively set timescales. In the next CD, we will talk about other sources of candidates at your disposal, how to compile a list of prospects, the telemarketing techniques to use when contacting passive candidates, how best to obtain referrals, and some additional points with regard to supplier management. Let's get right to it then. In my opinion, the main reason for problems occurring in the recruitment process is due to incomplete job specifications. The problems I'm referring to are receiving irrelevant direct applications and candidate CVs from suppliers for your roles, why candidates that turn up for interview can sometimes not live up to what you've read on their CVs, why some positions prove impossible to fill, why positions can be described inaccurately to candidates, and a whole variety of other problems. Now, recruitment is a people business, and as we all know, people can do some very strange things at times, so you can't prevent these problems from occurring 100% of the time. Although if you follow the instructions laid out in this CD, then you can help keep them to an absolute minimum and save your company a great deal of time and resources in the process. This is an issue for internal and external recruiters alike, and in my experience, over 90% of so-called recruitment professionals are woefully bad at this, and it's because they've never been taught correctly. They were taught bad technique by their managers, who in turn were taught it by their managers, and so on and so forth. I imagine the ability to walk into a meeting with someone at any level and feel confident that you can get all of the information required to either recruit for the role yourself or to communicate the information effectively to an external supplier would be a great asset if you can learn this quickly. Trust me, it's easy if you know how. When taking a job spec, either face-to-face or on a telephone, it's important to first build rapport, if possible, with your client before you begin, rather than going straight for the jugular, so to speak. It bodes for a far better encounter. By that I mean, go through the appropriate pleasantries, which will differ depending on how well you know them. While doing this, try to match their state, their body language, the pace and tonality of their voice. I know it sounds difficult at first. Trust me, it gets much easier very quickly once you start practicing. Now, once the ice has been broken and the time has come to begin, if possible, you should take the lead. I know from experience that a client explaining a position in their own way can in some cases be similar to listening to someone give you all of the letters of the alphabet in a random order and then asking you if they've missed any out. When this happens, on average, your ability to translate their words into a coherent written form will probably only give you about 50% of the communication. For this reason, regardless of how experienced you are, I recommend always using a pro forma questionnaire. A good little script that will help you take control of the conversation is what I call the preemptive close, and it goes like this. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me or discuss this with me today. I have to warn you that I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions. I can only assure you that the better I know and understand exactly what it is you're looking for, the better job I can do in finding exactly what it is you're looking for. This process will take about 15 minutes, and the good news is we only have to go through it once, so please bear with me. Then go into an assumed close, which means you assume their agreement with what you've just said and ask a question before they can respond, like, so what is a job title for this role? Or if you already know it, so the job title for this role is A, and then you're off. A good note to remember is the person asking the questions is the person in control of the conversation. If you do have a client that you're having trouble with, always be professional and try to get back onto script whenever you can. One way to do this is to try something like, oops, hang on a moment, I just need to get a better pen. Then as you turn to get one, ask a question and then take the lead. Sometimes a small distraction like this is all you need to get back on track. Just to reiterate, use a pro forma questionnaire and write down as much as you can. You will get far more information and you'll be less likely to forget to ask essential questions. I'm going to demonstrate the one in the CD-ROM included in this pack. Once you know the job title, ask what else could this role be known as in other companies. I'm going to discuss the importance of this question in greater detail when we talk about writing job ads. Although, needless to say, the more options you get, the more people will come up in your searches. Then ask, what is the one most important thing this insert job title needs? This question serves two purposes. Obviously, the answer is very important, and also it gets the client used to answering specific questions, which makes the process far easier. Next question. What are the absolutely essential skills that this person will need and wouldn't be able to do the job without? Keep asking, anything else, until the client says no. Let's say you get 4 things down and ask, how would you prioritise these? Or, if you could only have 3 out of the 4, which one would you do without? Next up we have preferable skills, so ask, what else is there that whilst not being essential would be good for the job holder to have? Again, if you get several things back from your client, ask how they should be prioritised. Another good question which very few recruiters ask is there anything you would like to avoid? Once you've got the specs down, we need to understand the duties that this person will be required to perform. Say to your client, job titles vary from company to company. Can you talk me through what duties this person will be required to perform? After every duty you get, ask anything else until they say, no, that's about it. Once you've got that, ask if they can give you a breakdown of the percentage of time spent on each of the duties mentioned. This will give you a lot of help in prioritising the requirements. Confirm if there are any technical or educational qualifications required. Also ask, what is the name of the department? What is the purpose of the department? How many people in the department? What is the culture like? Is it a quiet office or a bustling environment? What is the person's standing within the department? Who are the people this person will be directly working with? Who are the people this person will be directly reporting to? Why are we recruiting for this role? This could be a positive selling point for the role and the company. For example, if the company is going through a period of expansion or growth, if previous job holders have been promoted, which shows the company has a track record of progressing individuals from within. What kind of training could this person receive? What training have previous job holders received? What have previous job holders gone on to do? What are the possible career paths for this person? Can you think of anyone that has done this job and then gone on to do something else? Is a good way to get that information. Can you think of anything else regarding the role, the duties, the department or the company generally that will help us attract quality candidates? Or, if I were a candidate and you wanted to hire me, how would you sell this role to me? You should also have your own list of all the positive reasons why people would want to join your company in order to sell it to potential job seekers. Look for things like future growth prospects, company achievements, USPs, KPIs for example. Also think of how you can promote this information in the most positive way. For example, if a department had 2 people in it 2 years ago and now has 5, you could say that the team has grown by 3 people in the last 2 years, or you could say that the team has grown by 150% in the last 2 years. Which one do you think sounds better? What companies have you successfully hired people from in the past for this type of role? Where will people currently doing this role be working? What companies would you most like to see candidates from? Don't forget to ask if the client knows anyone in particular for the role that you could contact directly. That is one question that could save you a great deal of trouble. Are there any companies that you would like to avoid candidates from? Reasons could be a bad company reputation, or you may have too many from a company already and they may be forming a clique, or non-compete arrangements. The next part of the process is something you can either do before your meeting or during the meeting itself, and that is to get screening questions and answers from your client. Ideally, you should get up to 10 questions and answers that the ideal candidate will be able to answer confidently and competently. This will help you screen out candidates that look good on paper and don't actually live up to expectations. If you use external suppliers, give this task to them, although initially only give them half the questions and save the remainder for you to use during the first interview. You will learn very quickly if you can trust them, if the candidates answer all of your suppliers' questions and fail to answer yours, which would tell me that the candidates have been given help to get through the screening process by suppliers. If this happens, don't let it put you off using this in the future. Just find suppliers that you can trust to work in partnership with you. In this way, this can be as much of a screening process for the suppliers as it is for the candidates. Think of the time you could save having fewer CVs to look through, having a vastly superior conversion rate of candidates that you interview that progress through to the later stages of the process. Let's say on average you receive 20 candidate CVs for a particular role. Of those, you interview 4 of them. That will mean if it takes 5 to 10 minutes to consider a CV, you could be wasting almost 3 hours of your valuable time screening out irrelevant CVs every time you recruit. Add that up over the course of the year. If you manage a team of recruiters, ask yourself, is this the best use of their time, especially if you're paying external recruiters? Whilst good recruiters earn every single penny they make sure you get the best value for money from them, and if you can get a better quality of service for no additional expense, surely it makes sense to do so. I'm going to digress for a moment here, as it's quite relevant to do so. If you're interviewing several candidates from the same supplier for the same role, external candidates will try to put the weakest one in first to enable them to get the inside drill on the questions candidates will be asked during the interview. This way they can give an advantage to the stronger candidates in their opinion by advising them on the questions they're likely to be asked so they can prepare more effectively. For this reason, it may be worth varying the interview questions from one person to another, or alternatively explain this to the candidates so they do not feed this information back to the supplier. Right, back to the vacancy questionnaire. What is the salary range for this role? Your minimum, your maximum and the ideal target amount. And make them realistic. I've worked with companies that will give a range but have a policy of never paying the maximum. The reasoning behind this is that they'll get more exposure to higher end candidates this way. The danger is though that the candidates will have unrealistic salary expectations, and trust me, external recruiters will always target the higher end of the range. Is there a bonus? When will they qualify for this? Historically, how much has this bonus been? Even if they're not guaranteed, you can still give this information as a guide, as long as you stipulate that this is the case. What other benefits do your company offer? If there is a pension and the company make a contribution, how much is that worth in pounds and pence? Again, if you tell a candidate on 30k, for example, that they'll receive a 5% pension contribution, or that the company will pay £1,500 into their pension fund every year, which one sounds better? What are the working hours, and what will the candidates be expected to do? Are there overtime payments? How many days holidays? Other things to consider would be health insurance, life insurance, company shares, gym membership, subsidised canteen. The list goes on and on. Although you don't necessarily need to share all of this information, you still need to know it. Let's talk about timescales. How urgent is this role? When do we need to get someone on board by? When will it become a problem if the position is still vacant? Consider the fact that the person you recruit is likely to be on a notice period of at least 1 month on average, and how long the interview process will take from initial interview through to offer stage. If you work backwards, you will know the latest date for first interviews to take place will be. Make sure your client knows this and give plenty of leeway to work around these time objectives. Book time out of your client's diary for interviews. You could say, to assist me in managing the process for you, give me some times you have available in your diary and I'll find the right calibre of candidates for you to meet at those times. If you have a client that has issues relinquishing this responsibility to you, you might want to add, obviously their CVs will be sent to you beforehand and it will be you that selects which candidates that you want to see. When would you like to get them in? Finally, ask the client if there's anything else they'd like to add that hasn't been covered already. You now have all the detailed information that you need to go out and find this person, and it's time to close the meeting. A good way to do this and ensure that you have your client's cooperation is to say something like, "Thank you for taking the time to go through this with me. I now have a thorough understanding of what we're looking to achieve together, and I'm quietly confident that we'll be able to do this in the timescales required. Please be assured that I'm going to be working very hard on your behalf, and if you don't hear from me for a while, it'll be because I'm still in the process of putting together a shortlist of the best candidates for you. If anything changes or if there's any additional information, please feel free to contact me at any time, and I look forward to working with you on this." By taking the time to go through this process every time you recruit and not take the easy shortcuts of recycling job specs or filling up job specs with irrelevant bump to fill up the pages, you will recruit far more effectively and experience fewer problems throughout the process. We now have a thorough and detailed job spec. I recommend reviewing all of the notes that you've made at the earliest possible convenience and tidying it up. I know from hard-learned experience that the supposedly obvious, improvised shorthand terms that I used at the time of writing are anything but obvious by the time it comes to using them if there's a gap of a day or so. Right, let's move on to writing a job ad. Firstly, where do you intend to place the ad? If you're going to run a paper-based ad, think about the lifespan of the ad. Is it a monthly, a weekly or a daily publication? Because that is how long the ad will last. Paper-based advertising is really suffering at the moment due to its revenues being reduced by internet advertising. It's no surprise to learn that the majority of job boards are actually owned by the national newspapers. The reason I tell you this is because they can be driven down on price quite considerably, especially if you give them repeat business. Also, when you first contact them, pretend to be from an agency and see if they quote you a different price, as many will charge companies advertising directly a premium as they will feel that you have a greater budget. Don't get fobbed off by it's their company policy. They need your business, so tell them that you will offer it to a competitor unless they reduce their rate, and be prepared to walk away. Aim for a 50% discount and work from there. In many instances, you'll get it. Achievers events have a one-day event called Power Negotiating, which anyone that has to negotiate as part of their job will really benefit from attending. If this is something that interests you, get in contact with us to find out more. Our contact details are on this CD. Another way to reduce your costs is to explain that you have a limited budget and that you want them to do you a deal if any late space becomes available. If you've seen how there are far fewer ads being placed at the moment, you're very likely to get a call, and when you do, drive them down on price some more, just for good measure. In my experience, the best format for an ad is company information, position description, and finally opportunity. Ads written in that format will yield a higher response, and you have all of that information from the detailed job spec that you took earlier. Writing job ads for job boards and recruitment websites is a little different from writing job ads for other recruitment media. Knowing how job sites work and how job seekers use them will help you write an effective job ad. On a typical job site, there can be tens of thousands of job ads from recruitment agencies and employers. Job seekers do not trawl through all of these jobs in the hope of stumbling upon the dream job. Instead, they actively search the sites using keywords to find only the jobs they're interested in. For example, a candidate might search a job site for jobs using the keywords administration assistant, London, media sector, £24,000. The job site search engine will then find all the job ads in its database that contain these keywords and return them in a list. Job ads that contain all the keywords will be at the top of the list, with those matching fewer keywords coming next. What's more, for most job sites and job boards, the most recently added job ads will be ranked higher than older ones. Obviously, choosing the right keywords is essential if your job ad is going to be a success. So how do you go about choosing the right ones? Actually, it's pretty straightforward. You need to think like a job seeker and try to find the terms that they will use when searching for a job like yours. These keywords will revolve around a number of areas: position, title, job location, salary and/or industry sector being the most common. But you can also think about including keywords to do with professional qualifications, programming languages, software packages, languages, etc. When it comes to position title, call a spade a spade. Use commonly used position titles in your vacancy and use commonly used position titles. If your vacancy is for someone to help with admin tasks, call it an admin assistant. A job seeker looking for that kind of job will more likely search for an admin assistant than an office all-rounder or a departmental support person, or whatever internal term your company uses. Choosing the right position title will get more relevant people looking at your job. It can quite literally mean the difference between success and failure. In a newspaper, there are usually only a small number of job ads. Job seekers can take their time and browse through the page and look at them all. On job boards, this isn't possible. There are simply too many for one job seeker to browse. Besides, job seekers don't browse job boards. They actively search them to find the right jobs. If you were looking for a car rental company in Marbella on Google, you might type in car rental Marbella. It works the same for job boards. The most common terms that people use when searching job boards are job titles. If a candidate was looking for a .NET developer job, then they're going to search for a job board with the search term .NET developer. Online recruitment is all about getting your job in front of the largest number of relevant people. Advertising on the right job site is definitely important, but even when you've selected the right job site for your vacancy, you've still got to ensure that job seekers will find it, and that's why choosing the right job title is key. Just because you call your personal assistant a dedicated staff administration enabler, it doesn't mean that you should advertise it as such. If you want relevant job seekers to find your job, use a job title that they will use to search for it. There are few job site seekers that would input the search term dedicated staff administration enabler. Job seekers will and do, however, search for personal assistant. What's more, by choosing a common job title, your job ad will be shown to far more relevant job seekers. It will be a match for far more searches, and as it is an exact match for far more searches, it may well appear higher up the list of results. Both of these advantages can help get your ad in front of more eyeballs and in the end make a success of your job vacancy advertising. When it comes to job titles, the more clarity you offer to job seekers in your job title and job description, the better your chances of finding the right person for your vacancy. In other words, call a sturdy digging tool with a thick handle and a heavy flat blade that can be pressed into the ground with a foot a spade. Location. To make sure that people looking for admin jobs in London find your admin job in London, put London in the job description. You'll get more people looking at your job if you're precise about the location. If you can be even more precise, the better. Are you North or South London? Are you the West End or the City? People like to know where the job is. Some companies like to put nationwide on their job ads because they have lots of jobs across lots of locations. Unfortunately, many job seekers will view a nationwide job sceptically. Such generic locations are often used by disreputable recruitment agencies advertising fake jobs in an effort to attract CVs. Salary. If there's one thing above all that employers do wrong in a job ad, it's not including a salary. Include a salary. There are many good reasons why you might not want to include a salary in your job ad, but not including one will damage your response. Indeed, a survey by the Institute of Directors suggests that response to ads with no salaries is 50% lower than those with salaries. Why are salaries so important? Well, people want to know what the job is paying. It's as simple as that. And not only is salary what drives most people to get up in the morning and go to work, but a salary on a job ad can also give a job seeker an indication of the level of experience required by the recruiter. For example, a business development manager with a basic salary of $21,000 and an OT of $35,000 is a different proposition to a business development manager on a £75,000 basic and an OTE of $150k. Including a salary allows candidates to pre-select themselves, thus reducing the work for you later. If you don't want to be specific about your salary, you can indicate a salary range, put 20 to 25,000 or up to 25,000 or circa 23,000, but be sure to put something. Look, I know there are many reasons why you might not want to put a salary on your job. You might be trying to keep salaries down, you might not want the competitors to know what you're paying, most commonly you might not even want your own staff to know what you're paying. But while there are many reasons why you might not want to include a salary, there are few reasons why you shouldn't include one. The view of most people involved in online recruitment and job board advertising is that one should always include a salary in your job ad. Not including a salary can have a very detrimental effect on the performance of your job ad. Following on from the point above, putting a salary on your job ad can be one of the best screening tools that you as an employer can use. By stating what the salary is, you will be helping candidates clarify what level the job is and will stop lots of underqualified or overqualified people applying for the job. As you can see, salary is a fundamental tool in helping job seekers find the right jobs. If, however, you still don't want to put a salary on your job ad, you must accept that you might not be getting the best response from your job ad. Many people who might be good for your job will not find your job, and there's no way around that. Sector. Many people work and choose to work in a particular industry sector. The hospitality sector is full of people who would never think or dream of leaving it. Online media is similar. Be sure to bear this in mind in your job ad. Being specific about an industry sector will allow more relevant candidates and more suitably skilled people to find your job. What's more, a person with 3 years experience in your sector will probably be far more valuable than a person with no experience at all. Qualifications and skills. In many professions, qualifications are very important. In accountancy, for example, it's ACA, ACCA, CIMA. In IT, programming languages are often important. In design, it could be software packages. Does your job ad require specific qualifications? If they do, be sure to add them. Putting it all together in the job description. In the job description, you should tell the candidates exactly what they'll be expected to do, what duties and responsibilities they will have, and the reporting lines. Be clear about the educational requirements, the qualification, the skills, aptitudes, and previous work experience that are necessary to do the job, as well as those that you consider desirable. Outline the challenges of the job, but also what the job may lead to. Include a salary. Remember to tell candidates how to apply. You can ask candidates to mail a covering letter and a CV, but nowadays people prefer to apply by email or via an online form. Providing a telephone contact for more senior roles is often advisable, as such senior staff would like to speak to somebody about the job before beginning the application process. Make it easy for people to apply. I'm going to interject here to tell you about a survey that PricewaterhouseCoopers recently conducted on recruitment advertising, and they found that while 63% of applicants regularly read job advertisements, 71% of those prefer to apply through an intermediary. This is because applicants are far more likely to ask independent recruiters questions about potential opportunities than they are to ask company representatives themselves. Due to this reason alone, joint branding will improve the results yielded from advertising, and other significant benefits include the time being saved screening candidates, having the ad written for free, and receiving a higher level of service for the same fee. Just so you know, the agency you use will try to make some profit on the ad as well as the fee. This is the most traditional format for this type of recruiting. This doesn't necessarily need to be the case. You can negotiate on a number of variables. Don't forget the agency is getting free advertising out of this, and it's probably worth just as much to them as your fee, so bear this in mind. Okay, back to the ad. Keep your ad concise. Long job ads are generally off-putting. Aim for an absolute maximum job description of 400 words. In reality, you should be able to cover everything in far less. Use bullet points for the important points. Use active language rather than passive. For inspiration, search job sites for well-written job ads similar to yours. Remember, it's a job ad, so sell the job. There's a big difference between someone finding your job ad and actually applying for it. Sell your company. Candidates choose a company as much as they choose the job. If you're a successful, growing business with huge potential in an exciting market, then say it and include a salary. Talk about benefits like cars, pensions, healthcare, bonuses, gym membership, as these can be extremely attractive to candidates. Paid for training is also an important issue for many, especially those early on in their careers. Provide links to your website and even to awards your company may have won. Give good candidates prize information and insights that allow them to make a good application for the job. If your company has a Facebook page or a LinkedIn group, be sure to mention it, and just in case you missed this earlier, be sure to include a salary. Watch the response. Keep a very close eye on your response, especially in the first week of advertising. If you're getting in the wrong type of candidates, then make changes to your job ad and repost it. If response is weak, talk to your job board about what they would recommend for you to improve response. Speak with your colleagues and ask for their opinions on how the ad can be improved. Finally, to give you an idea of a good and a bad job ad, here are two real examples that we've found. Details have obviously been changed to protect the identities of the companies. Example 1. Good office all-rounder wanted for small company. Yes, that's it. That's all they wrote. Would anybody apply for that? Example 2. Admin assistants wanted for young, dynamic and friendly media company. Based in exclusive offices in London's West End, duties will include office administration, diary scheduling, telephone answering, client visits and attending industry networking events. Excellent organisational skills and the ability to work to tight deadlines are essential. Must be familiar with Microsoft Excel, and a knowledge of PowerPoint would be an advantage. Answering to the managing director, this role has the potential to develop into an office manager for the right person. Starting salary of $23,000 with Bupa and gym membership, and an annual bonus that can amount to £1,000. Which one would you apply for? It's quite clear that the more effort you put into your vacancy advertisement, the better the payoff for you. You are competing for the best people with hundreds of other companies, and you are in all probability offering the same job at the same salary. You have to give someone a reason to choose to apply for your job rather than for someone else's. If you want to find the best person for the vacancy in your company, you have to write the best vacancy ad. Right then, that's the end of the first CD. Before progressing to the next one, make some notes on what you've learned today and how you can apply them to your working environment. If you're listening to this in a group environment, you could organise a brainstorming session amongst the group and come up with, say, 20 plus ways that you can use this information to improve the effectiveness of your team. In the next CD, we will talk about other sources of candidates at your disposal, how to compile a list of prospects, the telemarketing techniques to use when contacting passive candidates, how best to obtain referrals, and some additional points with regard to supplier management. When you're ready, I'll be waiting for you there.